Welcome, welcome. We are back. It's Thursday, 1 p.m. It's time for 30 with Justin and Karen. And man, are we ever piling up the amazing guests and the interesting guests, quite frankly. And we've got another incredible guest today. We're joined today by Kristyn Livermore, director of the Westend Hypnosis. Is it just Westend Hypnosis, I guess? Kristyn helps people break old habits, build confidence, and transform their lives using the power of the mind. We want to hear her story about how hypnosis can make real changes in people's lives. And I find this an interesting topic. And I'll start by saying this. And I think actually Karen and I talked about this probably a couple of days ago because I got sick last week or in this last 5 days. And goodness me, did it ever hit me hard. And Karen and I were kind of laughing about it because I saw Gary V talk about how he was on a plane one time and he heard a little child coughing or somewhere near him. And he was also reading an article at the same time about the power of the mind and how it's more powerful than we think it is, quite frankly. And he just told himself in that moment, because he was so concerned about getting sick, that he's never going to get sick. I don't get sick. I'm not getting sick. I don't get sick. And he just kept repeating that mantra in his head all the time around things like that. And just in general, like he just kind of had it in the back of his mind. He always believed that he would never get sick. And he claims that since that time, he's really never really been sick that much. No colds, no nothing. And so I've kind of had that mindset. It's hard to fight when you have kids coming in and out of school, bringing home disgusting germs. But certainly, like, I'm really intrigued by that part of your brain and those things that you can do with your brain to really control your world that way, which I don't think we've ever really opened our mind to. So I'll start with just let's go back to basics. This is hypnosis. And I don't understand it that much, but maybe we can explain a little bit in a second. But how does one say to themselves, I'm growing up, going through school, doing whatever I'm doing. This is what I want to do.
Yeah, that's an awesome question because, hey, it's not in your career options when you're.
No.
Yeah, and I love how you opened that discussion about it because hypnosis is the power of the mind. And what we focus our attention on, or what we really put in front of us, is where we tend to move towards,
Mm.
where we tend to go. So I got into hypnosis. I have done quite a few jobs. I've been a flight attendant for Canada. I've been a Molson Coors beer rep, where actually I met my husband. I've been a Link ESL teacher in the Halton Catholic School Board. So I've done a lot of things. But something that I really noticed about myself is I always wanted to just keep leveling up. I just keep wanting to learn more about people and learn more about how the human brain worked.
Mhm.
And I remember at one point I had been in a ton of talk therapy and I kind of victimized myself in talk therapy and I wasn't really going anywhere. And there was a time and a place where talk therapy was super, super useful for me because I could get it out. Um,
And talk therapy is just like literally talking about your problems in a group or some sort of setting where you're sitting across from someone.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And then I realized my story wasn't really getting me anywhere. I was like,
Mm.
I actually want to make powerful changes,
Mm.
right? And you guys probably deal with this with clients all the time, where the story just is kind of like the loop in their head. And
Right.
sometimes it can be useful, and sometimes it can be super unuseful because their outcome may be totally different of the story that they keep telling themselves in their head.
Right.
So that's really where I made the change. I was 230 pounds. I had just had two kids, and I was like, wow, this is really not working anymore. So I
Mm.
went to go see a hypnotist, and I'm down 90 pounds now. So I'm almost at my wedding weight after two kids.
Wow.
And I really got out of the story and actually made changes. You know that Nike sign, just do it?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I was doing. I was just actually having human experiences to get me where I actually wanted to be versus listening to the story I kept telling myself in my head.
Mm.
Yeah.
Similar to your sickness story about the gentleman that you were hearing about.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, and again, that really speaks to the idea that, you know, I guess it also stems from the willingness to be able to want to make those changes too, right?
Yes.
So someone that's really, really stuck, they're sitting in their world telling themselves that nothing's ever going to change. And the
Oh,
first step
absolutely.
would be to
Absolutely.
say, I
Yeah.
want to make these changes before any of this can even possibly work for somebody, I'm assuming.
But they
Yeah,
also sorry, they also have to make that physical move and mental move that they're going to make that change because you can say I want to make that change,
Mm.
but you can still stay in your rut. Uh,
yeah, and that's
you
a
know,
really
and you can sit there because it's interesting, isn't it, Kristen? Because you must face this all the time in regard to that. Tell us about that.
yeah, and so it's interesting you say that, Karen, because a lot of people who come to hypnosis, they're in like the pain of the problem. They'll do anything to get out of this pain. Right? And that rut is like it's physically affecting them or emotionally or relationships
Yeah,
affecting them. And they just want anything to get out of that. And
Mm.
those are our best clients because they're willing to really take it and run with it. Just
yeah,
like you
yeah,
said, actually, instead of the story, just move, actually move with
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Huge part of it.
And it's interesting because why do we have to be so deep into the problem to make the change? If we were really truly smart about it, we would make the changes preemptively to make sure we avoided the problems in the first place.
Yeah, and I think society is shifting. I think we're going at it in a different way because, like, reality is, even if you look at our healthcare system, you don't go to the doctor or seek out help when everything's okay,
Mm.
right? We're not really programmed or in a hypnotic trance to look to see how we continuously better ourselves. We're
Yeah.
in this hypnotic trance of things are bad, go get help. So
Mhm.
we often tell our clients we're unwiring and then rewiring you.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it probably is very similar to your business when you're speaking with a client as well, where, sometimes we got to get it out of old patterns that are getting in the way to actually
Yeah.
get us where we want to be.
Mm. That's
Yeah.
true.
You know
Yeah.
what I've always taught my children and talked about it frequently is and my favorite saying is change is always good. Always. And change and always challenge yourself. So that comes along with change because you're gonna challenge yourself in that change, right? It is fearful because you don't know what the outcome is gonna be. So
Mhm.
you just have to do it as you can. But anyway,
I feel a lot of our decisions are sort of predicated on fear, right? Like we're afraid of what the potential outcome is. We're afraid of what people might think of us. We're
yeah,
afraid of, your personal safety or your personal whatever in your own brain, fight or flight kind of thing, right? And so we make a lot of decisions based on the millions of years of evolution of being chased by wild animals and things as, like when we were cavemen, still building in us that, we have to be safe and we have to be these things and this comfort zone is the place we need to be in, right? So I guess my next direction would be when you sort of think about hypnosis in the general sense, you know, there's a lot of TikToks of people on stage, and then they pop up and suddenly they're horny or suddenly they're boxers or suddenly they're a dancer or suddenly they're whatever and they're doing chicken dances and stuff. Like
yeah,
what is it that you do? Like explain to me
Yeah.
hypnosis and how this kind of works a little bit so we understand it not as this circus sideshow, but as a real tool to help change.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point because most people know what hypnosis is on stage, which
Mm,
is awesome because you can have fun with hypnosis
mm.
as well. But the point of hypnosis is the suggestibility. So if you can, cluck like a chicken or, pretend you're naked on stage, it's going with something and actually taking your mind there as well. So imagine a client coming in and, they've been super stressed and I love how you explain this fear because a lot of fear holds us back, but a lot of this fear is old anchors from the past. It actually has nothing to do with right now.
Mhm.
So think of someone who, maybe got scared to fly when they were a kid. So we do a lot of fears and phobias here because at a nervous system or a subconscious level, they're an autopilot to keep thinking they're scared, they're scared, they're scared. And it's just the loop that keeps playing in their mind versus actually exploring what it could look like, sound like, and feel like if it was different. What if it could be safe on a plane? What if it could be safe around spiders and you were in total control? So it's getting into your senses and following this suggestion, just like being naked on a stage or clucking like a chicken. So,
The idea of that though is very interesting because, you know, gosh, we live in this anxiety is such a prevalent thing right now. And whether that's because we've diagnosed it or had more time to, actually understand what it is more than ever before. I'm sure it's been around for since the beginning of time, but we just never knew what it was until a point. And now we've started to diagnose these things a little bit differently and a little more effectively. Um, and I find what was it my therapist told me one time, and yes, I have a therapist. That's interesting. Little detail for the fans out there. Everybody should really have therapists, to be honest. We all need it. Let's be honest. But anxiety, what was it? Anxiety
My
is
coaches are out there.
yeah, anxiety is the fear of what could happen, and depression is the fear of what has happened, or the angst from what has happened in the past. And those two things, we can't change those things, right?
mhm.
Like we are not necessarily in control of what ifs, and we're not in control of what's happened. And that's where our brain takes us to these places. If is that what, am I right in saying that?
Yeah, totally. And I totally see. And a lot of our clients come in with this fear. They want to be in control all the time. And if you look at
Right.
anxiety and depression, it's this want to be in control. But reality is the person with the most flexibility in the room actually has the most control.
Mm.
So it's kind of backwards in our mind where we think we have control when we're controlling things and holding on tight, when it's actually the flexibility that gets us
Ah,
into control.
interesting.
Mhm.
So what makes a person ready for this? Because I understand that there's some people that just it really just doesn't take for or take with them. So what makes a person ready or primed to be to go through the process of hypnosis to get a result?
Yeah, it takes a person to having the willingness to experience something and try on some things that may be different from what they've done before. And reality is like all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So there's nothing I can say or do to anybody. Look at Karen's face. She's like, oh God.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do or say to anyone that they don't internally want to do. Okay.
Karen's taking a call at the moment, so that's fun. No,
She's
we'll just keep going. She's a
she's
busy lady. Oh my God.
you still got to make money, right?
Yeah, right? Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. That's funny.
Yeah. So
Um,
it's
Go
just
ahead.
like walking, right? So
Yeah,
like when you're walking, you're not thinking like lift leg, put it out, put it down. You're just walking.
right.
So
Right.
you're in this hypnotic trance of just doing it. So some of us don't even realize what we're doing is a hypnotic trance.
That's very interesting. We don't think about breathing or walking or blinking or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's interesting. So is there a trust factor there too? There must be a bit of a trust factor for someone to get to know you, to be comfortable enough to trust you to do whatever it is you do and have these conversations of deep kind of hypnosis with them.
Yeah, and that's why we do a free screening because we want to make sure it's the right place for the person to make the change and that the program's the right space for vice versa. So it's
Mm,
really important to make sure that we have the rapport and you have the willingness to try things on. And at the end of the day, I'm just the tour guide. You're just here, you're the one taking charge of the ship and making the changes. So even like we have thousands and thousands of testimonials of, people who have been very successful with this program and it's all of them who've made the changes. So it's kudos to all of them.
Mhm.
they've taken the time to actually do the work to get themselves in the right position, is what you're saying.
Exactly. And
So,
and look at it in different perspectives as well. It takes time.
well, in a way, you're actually what you're doing is you're circling back to the point of control, where you know, I guess in those situations, people feel like they don't have control and that things are going out of control in their world. And now you're giving them the power to say, no, no, I am in control of these things. And they learn to accept that control for themselves.
Yeah.
Because I imagine it's probably even hard to want to take control. And part of that control, because I guess part of that control is admitting accountability to the things that you may have done wrong in the past or that have led up to this moment, right? And taking responsibility for those things to say, yeah, yeah, I put myself in this position, right? And
Mhm.
now we got to work our way out of it. right?
Yeah, and the biggest growth for a lot of my clients or our clients that we see here is being able to give themselves feedback in a really safe place.
Mm.
'Cause feedback can be really scary sometimes, even if we think about like school. You're like, ah, don't come talk to me, teacher. Don't come talk to me. I'm okay. My hands are above, right? And really feedback is like a little golden nugget of like, hey, where can I improve? And it's
Right.
really shifting the perspective of that as well.
So a real hypnosis session is one-on-one sitting with you or one of your people. I'm assuming, I don't know if it's just you or you have others,
Yep.
and actually just talking and having a conversation. How does this work? Like, what are the steps?
Yeah, so a first session would be like, hey, what's going well? So a person would tell me what's going well based on the tools that they've been using. And then there'd be some area for feedback. So in that feedback, remember the story doesn't matter. So there's patterns in the story. So maybe someone's, a blamer or a placater who takes care of other people, or a computer who thinks a lot or overthinks
Mm.
a lot. Or hey, there's a squirrel, a distractor. Okay. And we all fit into one of these categories when we cope with stress. So if you think of someone who's here for weight loss, right? So maybe they're thinking and thinking and thinking and getting stuck in their head. And then the feeling's just so uncomfortable that they distract with food. And they just want to get out of that uncomfortable feeling. So what we do in our sessions is we put the pattern on the table. So it feels less attached. And I love that you brought up anxiety because a lot of people will come in and be like, my anxiety. And I was like, well, actually, a lot of people have anxiety. It's pretty shared throughout society right now.
Mm.
So we really want to detach the person and the behavior or the pattern of what's going on. And then it feels a little bit more free to make changes.
Mm. The core value of a human and how they act, how they actually function on a daily basis probably remains the same, but it's working with those core values that you have and those core behaviors that you use and that you exhibit on a daily basis to understand them and work with them, as opposed to potentially making drastic changes to your personality and so on and so forth, I'm assuming.
Yes, very. And I love that you brought that up because those values and beliefs are really the core.
Mm.
And moving with it, right? So we're using their language as well because people learn in three ways, right? Visual, auditory, kinesthetic. And if you can talk to them in their language, like visual, I see what you're saying. Auditory, I hear what you're saying. Kinesthetic, I feel you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just even a basic way to build rapport with someone to make themselves safe in a nervous system. So it can even calm someone down in conversation. And then you
Right.
can lead them a little bit more to where you see they could be next. Because reality is we're inside the bottle, right? We can't always read our own label. We're
Mm.
stuck in the
It's
bottle.
true. It's true. It's really funny because we have this process called Colby, this system called Colby.
Mhm.
And it's, I don't know if you've heard of this. It would be interesting to see if you looked it up, and us to have a further conversation after the fact about it. And it really dials in what your core behavior is as a whole, and I've done this Colby situation multiple times over the last 5 years. And every time I do it, it's within this much of the same thing. Right. And the questions are, I don't remember the questions. I don't, cause it's years, 2 years between times. So I don't open up the thing and go, oh my God, I remember this. I'm going to do it differently this time. I just kind of answer them honestly. And it ends up being the same every time. And what's interesting about it is the way it kind of helps us understand is, if I have an employee, or Karen and I, for an example, a really great example is us coming together to build a team. We have these core behaviors that we always use and we always are. And for someone like Karen, who's older, she's never, it's like you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? So you're kind of in a position where, no offense, that wasn't meant to be offensive, but you're in a position where you rather than trying to make these employees or make these partners or make these people change, it's like, well, now we understand where you're coming from in your area of expertise and your behavioral kind of context, right? And we can work with that. So I'll give you mine, and mine is, I have a high visionary sort of brain. I can sit around and brainstorm ideas and come up with concepts like crazy, and just get really excited and really great about them. But put it on me to execute on those things, forget it. right? Like I'm not that guy. Like I need help for it. I can get it done, but I'm, the squirrel that like that's what ends up happening to me.
Yeah.
So now I need to find people around me, like coincidentally my wife, who are great at building systems, right? I need people like Karen who her main sort of belief or sort of standard is almost like a research type person who loves pulling research and understanding it before going forward on things, right?
Mhm.
And so knowing those things about each other helps us actually within our relational world understand how the world is working around us better and how we can really effectively communicate together.
Yeah, it's finding like your yin to your yang and how to get to the outcome even better with those people around you.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I mean, I imagine coming to you and kind of going through that process helps expose those things and helps us to be comfortable with those things within ourselves. We
Yeah, and it also gives you an opportunity to have more choices. So,
right.
when we have one choice, like when we're cornered and we have one choice, our body starts to freak out.
Mm,
When we have two choices, okay, we're at a fork in the road. When we have three or more choices at a nervous system level, we feel calm.
mm,
So
Mm.
it's always good to have three or more choices, no matter what is happening. And Justin, you're a very freedom-minded person. So if anyone put you in one, if someone gave you an ultimatum, you'd be out. You'd be gone. There'd be no way that would work. And that's just your way. That's a pattern you have. And I love that you know that about yourself because then you implement things around you because you may need the pressure a little bit higher on things to get things done.
mm.
And you have people around you that complement that.
In fact, I would tell you that under pressure, I probably work at my best.
Mhm.
And I tend to, and I've always done this. I think back to my high school years, and one of the core features of the person that I am is that I tend to wait till the last minute to get shit done,
Mhm.
right? And so, but it's always awesome when it's done. So
Mhm.
it's not like, people would say, oh, well, just get it done now and you don't have to do it later. Cool, that's fine. But it won't be the same product as the thing that I do within my own brain and the time that I want to get it done,
Mhm.
right? Because that's just how I work. Now, could I be better and change those things? Sure. But does it stress me out more to do it a different way and make me happy to do it a different way? No. Like I really love doing it my way. But what I love is being able to have that um, documentation to say, this is how I work. This is who I am. Everyone work around me and I will work around them as well. Like I'll respect their situations as well. And we can have a congruous relationship that way based on what we know about each other now. And I think being open and honest about it and not hiding behind these things is the biggest thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think finding employees that way is interesting too because we can hire better. We can fire better when we know these people this way,
Yeah.
right? And
And you
when
can
they're honest about it themselves too.
and you can even talk in the same language. Because
Bang.
sometimes it's like speaking Mandarin and English, right?
Yes.
You're totally not getting each other, but when you actually put it on the table, you can meet each other halfway and see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Talk to me about some of the best results that you've seen or of any
Yeah.
specific like life-changing thing where you've been like, this person, this is a
Well,
testimonial.
I want to ask a
Go
question.
for it. You do that.
So everybody talks about hypnosis, about how they can walk in and quit smoking and they can stop eating and lose weight and they can, take all their bad habits and throw them out the door because, oh yeah, I've gone to hypnosis and this is what I've done, right? So Kristen, tell me how that, like, I don't believe that. And it's unfortunate I don't, but I don't believe that they can walk in, get hypnosis, and then not smoke the next day because smoking is a very, anyway. So tell me about that. Tell me why people believe that of you.
Yeah, and that's a great question because what we're really doing is we're fixating and obsessing about something else. So with a smoker especially, like it's a distraction for them, right? And that's how they're getting out of stressful times. It's like their permission to take a break. It's their
Mm.
permission to have time to themselves. So, they don't like think, "Hey, I'm going to take a tampon and put it in my mouth and try to kill myself the next day." Like they don't think that way. But it's really harming them. So most people or most smokers are very freedom mentality, just like Justin was explaining himself. So when there's that pain of the health, so when people are smokers and their health is starting to deteriorate, and we can really, really put that pain on the table for them and future pace, like, hey, what happens if you don't stop smoking? What happens in your body? What happens to the people who are watching you? What even happens with the people you're modeling for? Are they going to follow? Is it okay if your kids grab a tampon and put it in their mouth?
Mm.
So it's really painting a picture for them and future pacing. If you can continue to do this, or you could have a few more options in between that you could still get your escape and your adventure and your excitement and do it a different way. And you can always go back to the old way, but it's giving them that curiosity and those three or more options to step into something different.
Yeah.
And reality is nothing happens over one session. So I love that you brought that up too. Our smallest program for stop smoking is 3 sessions because we want to make sure it's actually sticking.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I was
Exactly.
just gonna say, like, it's not like we see on a stage where it's like boom, and then you stop smoking. It's
Yeah.
like it literally is a mindful change over time that
Yeah.
this happens, as
It
opposed by
has
the
to be
sounds of
because
what I'm hearing.
the minute you walk into a place where or you walk past a group of smokers outside a bar and you go, oh well,
It's
I'm
like
back.
it reminds me of Frank the Tank. Once it hits your lips, it just tastes so good.
Yeah, yeah, and those are
Uh,
anchors, right? So as soon as you hear a song or smell something, there's those anchors that come back to your mind. But we can also play with those to make those anchors in a more useful way, especially when you're super, super calm.
Yeah. Yeah.
so let's summarize here because we're coming up against the 30-minute time. So hypnosis is not a quick fix. That's one thing I want to, like, that's a myth, right?
Yep.
Okay, so
Oh,
hypnosis
it's
is not a quick
important.
fix. It requires work and effort. You're
Yep.
not just snapping fingers and knocking people out and people wake up completely changed.
Yep.
They require the subject to be willing and want to make a change. It sounds like the hard part is that people end up in their worst possible scenario before they end up coming to you, which is, kind of
That's
sad in a
true.
way, but
That's
ultimately,
true, eh, Kristen?
well, because I guess what Kristen's saying is it's that moment of extreme pain of whatever that you're going through that forces you to be in that position to be willing to make the change at that
I guess
moment,
so. Yeah, yeah.
right? Versus,
Yeah.
I like chips, and if I keep eating chips right now, I'm fine. But in the next however long, I may end up with high blood pressure or other things that could kill me because of the chips that I'm eating, you know, or cookies. Let's call cookies diabetes, like, right?
You're
So
making them better, Justin.
yeah. So and ultimately it really comes down to this is a type of therapy that's a suggestive therapy to help rewire your thinking to help you understand yourself better.
Yeah, exactly. And hey, I do think the pendulum is swinging. Like more people are coming, not when they're in super, super a lot of pain. So you know what? I think it'll change. I think it'll
I
change.
like the idea of having choices for therapy in general,
Yeah.
right? Because there you go, there's your other thing. People get told, well, maybe you should go to therapy, and it's like, well, therapy's one path.
Mhm.
But if you broke that therapy up into, well, there's this type of therapist and this type of therapist and this type of therapist, you can choose one, and it makes the decision a little more comfortable for people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's helpful. That's amazing. So, where can we? So, we have websites and contact information. We're going to put all that stuff down below.
No,
This is me trying to
so
hypnotize people to get there.
one more question.
Okay, here.
So what is the best or the most what am I trying to say here, Justin? The
I
best
don't know.
situation that you have actually completed in regard to a person walking in and
Oh,
saying,
right.
"Oh
Yeah.
my God,"
I
and
did ask that before. So,
yeah,
yes, great.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what is one of your, without naming names, of course.
Testimonial, like wonderful
Yeah.
testimonials where you
Yeah.
changed a life.
Yeah, and so this gentleman came in and he was this big, big black guy, and he came in and he was like this small, legitimately this small. He took up very little space. And I always go back to him because at some point in his life, his size and the way he was scared people. So he
Oh,
shrunk himself down to being this small. So he was working in a government job, unhappy. He was getting high blood pressure. He was getting glaucoma. He was just having a really, really tough time. And he came to me and he could barely afford the service. And he wanted change.
mm,
And by the end of his program, he was taking up more space. He was playing basketball with his buddies again. And now he actually owns a security company who's actually,
Wow.
yeah, like
that's a major difference.
huge pivot. And he's actually, when celebrities come in, he's their bodyguards now.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
So we want him on the
Wait,
next
so
show.
how long did that process take?
So he was probably seeing me for about 6 months. We added some sessions on and he still comes. I would say once every 2 months, he still comes because he likes the reset. So we have a lot
Mm,
of clients that'll come for maintenance, but like for him, it was such a powerful change. And I always remind him, like, this was you who made the changes. And he really stepped into his own. And like you were saying, Justin, he used what he had inside of him
mm,
to be who he truly was meant to be.
right, right. It's interesting how people can turn away from social pressure that way, right?
Mhm.
Like they can just be a completely different person from social pressure. And
Yeah,
in a way, it's quite sad, you
it
know.
is.
But lovely to see that someone can just be themselves, you know. And I guess the world, how many times have I said this in the last couple months, Karen, where I wish the world's default setting was more happiness and joy and gratefulness
Oh,
and
it
you
would
know,
be
and the world is in such a place right now that we're afraid
Mhm.
to be ourselves out there right now. A lot of people are,
I
you
think
know.
the media is doing that, but I just wanted to ask you, when's your next opening? I'm coming.
I'll send you my calendar, Karen.
Yes, do that.
Perfect.
See, Justin, you didn't think an old dog could learn new tricks, but I
Let's
bet you
see.
can prove
Let's
you
see
otherwise.
what we can do here.
Trust me, I have a few glitches in my life that are driving me crazy.
We all do. We all do.
That's so funny. All right. Well, we're going to put all your contact info below. Maybe actually, if you send us that calendar link, we will throw that below too, so people can jump in your calendar and book their appointments right away. But no, this has been awesome, really fun to learn about it. And I'm only disappointed that I haven't clucked like a chicken throughout this. Or maybe I will after we hang up. Suddenly you've somehow, I'm a little skeptical that you haven't somehow done that to me at this point. We'll see what happens. But yes, thank you, Kristyn, for coming on. It's been a pleasure, and we very much appreciate your time.
Thank you.
See you, everybody. We'll be back next week with, well, maybe I'll be clucking like a chicken next week. See ya.